What is an argument, and how does it serve as a persuasive type of communication? Well, an argument, by its very nature, is a persuasive or an intended persuasive communication. That is, you are trying to convince another person to see your point of view as the correct or right point of view when their current point of view or stance is contrary to yours. So, in summary, another person holds a contrary point of view. You are espousing your point of view with the purpose of convincing them that you're right. Okay. Now, with that being said, arguments are generally delivered in an inductive structure or fashion. What this means is that before stating exactly what it is you believe or your position or stance, you build up to it. That is, you provide information, facts, historical accounts, scenarios, provide reference to others, such that you build a case for your position before you specifically state exactly what your position is. The opposite of this would be deductive, where you state your point up front and then try to support it. The problem with this approach is oftentimes emotion overcomes the other individual and they block out or fail to appreciate the nature of your argument because they are succumbing to a mental bias. That is, they're not able to appreciate the information that you're bringing to the table because of a predisposition they have about the stance that you have or the position. So it's generally recommended to follow an inductive approach. Now, classical argument theory does not support this. That is, historically, people have gone with a deductive approach, that is, stating their proposition up front and then supporting it. But modern research tends to show that this is far less effective. Now, with that being said, there are various components that make up an argumentative persuasive communication. First is you're going to have evidence. If you're going to espouse your point of view, you have to have reasoning behind it. That is, information that supports it. So you're going to use a combination of logic and evidence. The evidence is presented and sequenced in a way that rationally or logically supports whatever your conclusion is or whatever your stance or point of view is. Now, one issue here is that people have emotions. That is, they react differently than others or uniquely to specific information or just based upon their prior experiences and disposition or attitude and things like that. So the emotional response that individuals have to evidence may differ, and it may cause them the inability to appreciate evidence and make the connections that others would make who do not have this emotional reaction to it. So with that being said, emotions can affect the ability of individuals to connect evidence in a logical fashion to arrive at a conclusion and thus interrupt or diminish the effectiveness of the argument itself. And then lastly, ethics. That is, an individual's willingness or belief concerning whether something is right or wrong. So presenting evidence or presenting evidence in a certain way or potentially leaving out evidence or otherwise emotionally manipulating the other person may be considered unethical by one person and ethical to another. While we do know that things that can affect the emotions of the other party in a conducive way towards the objective or goal can be effective, it may not be ethical. So ethics constrains the ability of individuals to present an argument in a particular form or fashion. So these are the primary elements or factors that make up or come into play in an argumentative persuasive communication.